in 3, in 2, come on. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Cordelicchio, and welcome to the Destination Health Podcast. We have a very special guest on today, Rachel Varga. She is a board-certified aesthetic nurse, international clinical trainer, speaker, academically published, award-winning author. I love that, in the field of plastic and aesthetic nursing. Through education on skincare, skin or laser rejuvenation, non-surgical solutions, and healthy living practices. Rachel, thank you very much for being on our live podcast today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for bringing me on here and sharing some tidbits of information to help your audience and your clients age impossibly well.
You know what? I love this because I just opened up an office in Red Bank, New Jersey, and it is a Medi Spa, Lotus Health and Aesthetics. And so I want to know all about this because this is all new to me. So tell me, what is it? You're dealing a lot with skin, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Skin is our biggest organ, right?
That's right. It's our biggest organ. So tell me, how do you help individuals with their skin?
Well, first of all, what is someone's skin goals, right? So when you work with people, you help them from a nutrition standpoint, functional medicine standpoint, make sure they're all adjusted, their heads on straight in more ways than one. And when you do the inner stuff, then someone comes back to you and they say, oh, I feel really good, but I feel like my skin and my aging process doesn't quite match up to how I feel on the inside. And that's when it's just fantastic to marry both the, functional medicine side of things and then the aesthetic medicine and aesthetic nursing side of things.
So when you're dealing with a patient and they come in with something such as acne, how do you approach that? Because that's a big problem today. It's still a big problem. There's a big stigmata on that, both mentally and physically. So if somebody comes in and they have acne, what is it that, how could you help them?
Well, I mean, yours truly, I'm still acne prone in my mid-30s. And a lot of us are. And for sure, during times of high stress or hormones, for example, that week before and week during menstruation, if you can kind of bump up your routine to potentially integrate some more actives, such as salicylic acid, making sure that you're not sleeping in your makeup, making sure that you're properly cleansing, that's really key. So I work with people both in clinic and online internationally. And it's just fantastic for me to know providers like you all over the world that are really interested in helping people out, because this is something that I do see a lot of, unfortunately, in the world of aesthetic medicine and aesthetic nursing, that people are kind of in it for the money. And so when you're looking for a provider, this is really the number one thing. You want to, feel good with them. You want to trust them. You really want to get the sense that they're here to help you out, not just rush you in, rush you out. That's a huge thing. And yeah, skin's huge. Acne is definitely one of the biggest things that I work with, especially with my younger clients. And then as we age, it turns into more pigmentation. How do I stimulate collagen? How do I lift the brows? How do I reduce sagging to the jawline and the neck and all sorts of things? So there's different things that we experience on our skin as we go through life. And there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just having the tools in the toolkit.
That's right. And you mentioned cosmetics and you mentioned hormones. There's a lot of toxins, estrogen dominance that you can get, both male and female. Can you expand on that some?
Yeah, definitely. So when we hit our late 30s, early 40s, women tend to experience a little bit of an estrogen drop off. And how that manifests in the skin is a little bit more crepiness, thinning to the skin, a couple of fine lines and wrinkles start to pop up. And men experience this as well. I do work with a lot of men. And I work with, everyone from, pensioners to celebrities and everyone in between on various ends of the spectrum. And we typically experience a lot of common things as we age. And so hormones definitely play a big part. And then there's this fantastic study that I share on my Instagram and Facebook at RachelVarga.official, where there's this graph. And there's actually a study out there that shows us that women's faces change shape faster, 3 times faster than men's between the ages of 50 and 60. So if you're looking in the mirror and you're like, I feel like overnight my face shape has changed, fat, bone, collagen, all of that, it's not just in your head. There's actually scientific data to support that.
Oh boy, so I'm in that 50 to 60 range, going towards the 60 range. So my face is going to change. Actually, my whole body's beginning to change. So in your practice, do you, when you mention collagen, do you use a lot of supportive nutrients?
Oh, yeah. And the way that I recommend that you integrate nutrients is through testing and not guessing. I'm a huge fan of that. I mean, I've been taking supplements for years, and I would just go online. Okay, coenzyme Q10, great, I'm going to take it. However, it makes me get really nauseous.
Right.
And so I can't handle certain things. So just because something is good for someone, like coconut oil on the skin, for example, there can be different pathways in our bodies based on our genetic blueprint, our DNA, that actually doesn't work well with certain ingredients. So when you're considering, okay, what supplements do I take to improve my skin? Which antioxidants should I be taking to mitigate oxidative stress on the inside? And also what antioxidants on the skin are going to be helpful for me? That's really when you can start to get into some slick, cheek swab, gene testing, or even gut microbiome testing. I think those 2 approaches are really key to get a snapshot of what's going on genetically, but also in your gut, snapshot of at that very moment. That's what gut testing is great for.
I find that fascinating because in our office, we do have a sign. If you're not testing, you're guessing.
Yes, love it.
and this is where, anti-aging, regenerative medicine, functional medicine, aesthetics is going.
100%.
The testing, and we get into the epigenetics and the very specific aspects of what we should be doing and how we can help, and how we can help out our patients. Do you also talk about diet in your office, and what types of diets do you discuss?
So diet is, and I go through this through a virtual consultation, which you can book with me at RachelVarga.ca. And I kind of break everything down for you, what your skin goals are, all that fun stuff. And diet is really important because you really need to start to get in tune with your body. For example, I met with someone yesterday and they said, oh, I had dairy. Sure enough, they had breakouts 2-3 days later. And sometimes your diet can have a reflection on your skin even a month later. Our skin cell cycle is about a month. So say, for example, you went through a really high stress state, you really weren't eating well. A month later, your skin is really going to show those effects. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I find this fascinating, and I'm the blood work guy. I love getting the blood work. I love reading the blood work to help out patients. Now, we're in the summertime and people are slathering on the sunscreen and so forth. What do you recommend? Because you hear so much about this. Should you use this particular product? We won't mention any of the popular names. Or is there something that you have that's better?
Well, first of all, there's a lot to know about sunscreens. A lot of times people will meet with me and they say, oh yeah, I have a sunscreen in my BB cream or my moisturizer or my CC cream. And a lot of times those are actually what's called chemical sunscreen filters. Now, places in the world are starting to ban these, including places like Australia and Hawaii, because chemical sunscreen filters have negative impacts on our hormones. They're hormone disruptors. They're also bleaching our coral reefs, and they also impact our water supply. So if your sunscreen has avobenzone, oxybenzone in it, if it's got a list of chemical sunscreen filters, you need to stop using it. And for sure, do not be slathering your kids in that stuff, even if that sunscreen label says pediatrician dermatologist approved. I was in the pharmacy the other day and I was just curious. Okay, this sunscreen, it's marketed for kids. Flip it around. It's got like 4 chemical sunscreen filters and people just don't know. So now, do you avoid your chemical filters, switch completely to a mineral-based sunscreen. And sunblock is a bit of a misnomer. It's a screen. So bonus points if you can use a sunscreen that has added antioxidants like vitamin C and vitamin E. But zinc and titanium are the better ingredients to use, unless of course you have a sensitivity or allergy, but those are very unlikely. But you get protection for longer. They won't sting your eyes, and yeah, they work better. I'm Fitzpatrick skin type 2. I am prone to moles and precancerous lesions. I'm getting my full body scan in about 2 weeks just to keep an eye on my sunspots. But yeah, I'm happy to help kind of distinguish which sunscreen might be right for you, because some mineral sunscreens have different consistencies. So some are going to be better if you're more oily, some are going to be better if you're more dry, or if you're acne prone. There's a lot to know.
So what is this Fitzpatrick scale? I've never heard of this before.
So this is a really interesting scale to know when you're looking at your skin. So for me, my ethnic background is I'm Dutch, I'm English, I'm Welsh, definitely part Irish in there, I swear. And when I go into the sun, I burn like nothing. So I'm what would be considered a Fitzpatrick skin type 2. Now, what we're talking about here isn't medical information. It's for educational purposes only. So basically there's this scale, right? So I'm at a 2, which means I don't have a lot of innate melanin in production in my skin. So I don't have a lot of protection, if you will. So I'm a little bit more prone to skin cancer. Now, as we go darker in the skin type, so for example, skin type 3 is going to be a little bit more like you can be able to tan easily, or you're sort of always have a darker skin tone to you. You have more melanin protection, which means that you can still get skin cancers. You just have a little bit of a lower risk of it as opposed to someone like myself. So that's what the Fitzpatrick skin type is, that scale. And also you can just Google it, Wikipedia it. But some laser treatments aren't good for all skin types, right? So it's important that you're going to a provider, that when you're thinking about getting rejuvenation, they ask you these things like, what's your ethnic background? Because I met with someone yesterday and I wouldn't have actually been able to guess that she was a certain skin type and genetic background if she hadn't told me. So that's why you always have to be asked these questions before getting a rejuvenation procedure is really important.
I find that fascinating. So my mother is Sicilian, and so she's dark all the time. All right. So I have that blood, because when I go into the sun, I don't get red. I just start getting brown.
Golden. Beautiful.
It starts right from the onset. That golden brown tan. My wife, who has Irish origins, she gets really mad because she's underneath the umbrella all the time. And you see my and you should see my son. He is really a nice, he's got more of my genes. I always say that anyway, because he has more of my genes. So I find that interesting on how that happens. Now, in your practice, do you see mainly females, or you see both females and males?
Actually, I have to say my most famous clients are males. My
Really?
audience in general is about 20% men. And what's kind of cool with the online consultations is that men want discreet. They want to be able to do things at home like dermal rolling, really good skincare. They don't want to, have to explain that they're going to a clinic for certain things, or have redness or downtime, or experience things that are painful. But a lot of men deal with lowness to the brow, hooded eyelids, puffy lower eye bags, pigmentation, hair loss. So these are a lot of common things that I help men with. I love working with men. I'm always so proud when men find me and work with me, because I'm just going to keep them on the straight and narrow and just help them age well and avoid the gimmicky products and devices that are out there that are literally everywhere.
Right, and those gimmicky processes must, they must drive you crazy, like they drive me crazy in the nutritional realm. It sounds like I'm going to have to contact you and get a consultation.
Yeah, let's do one for you and your wife. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, you know what? I've never done this before, and I find it fascinating. Again, I'm just getting into I'm just getting into the health and aesthetics. So to me, it sounds like it's the inner beauty, because nutritional aspect of this, you're into the supplement aspect of this. So it's the inner and the outer beauty. Am I correct in saying that?
Oh yeah. I mean, what I really started to clue into, and I talk about this in my ebook, Unlocking Your Vitality, that you can get at my website. I started to clue into a subset of men and women that were ages 50 to 90 that had never, used medical grade skincare, sunscreen in their life, or had rejuvenation treatments like lasers or injectables or other non-surgical or surgical interventions. And I'd meet with them online or in person, and they just glowed. They entered the room, they had this air to them. There was something special about them. They were living very balanced lives. They had a spiritual meditation practice. They were doing grounding exercises like yoga, Tai Chi, Pilates. They were making sure that they were also getting in a little bit of cardio, a little bit of strength training, and they ate and lived in a way that felt good to them. It's pretty simple. If you want to develop radiance and age really well, you just have to start to take cues from your body, mind, and spirit as to what makes you feel good.
It sounds like what you're talking about to me is a routine for not only the inner beauty, but for the outer beauty, for your skincare, in addition to, because they're both interrelated. If you're looking good, you're feeling good, you feel good on the inside, and you have that radiance, as you say, right?
Yes, highly functioning individuals. I just interviewed Dave Asprey and his wife, Lana Asprey. If you don't know who they are, Dave Asprey is the founder of Bulletproof. He actually lives where I live. I've been on his show and he's been on mine. And people like them, prime example of highly functioning, lovely individuals that are simply here to help make the lives of others better. So people like them are living in a way that is fulfilling their life's purpose. This is also another thing that's going to give someone that shine or that spark. But having cultivated morning routines and evening routines is something very important. I mean, I have a pretty dialed in routine myself. I'm happy to share that with you.
Yeah, let me hear. I want to hear your routine.
For some reason, for years, I wasn't sharing this. I'm like, this is what people want to know. They want to know like what I'm doing, right?
Well, you're the expert. You're the expert, and they're looking at you and they're saying, how can I look as good as Rachel? What can I do?
Thank you. And it's always a journey, right? We're always living in a way that we have to mitigate our exposure to things like environmental toxins, whether it's pollution, whether it's EMFs, whether it's, being in certain brain states like high beta all the time. So what I do is I wake up and I do a grounding practice. I do a clearing practice. That's going to be different for everybody based on your spiritual background, your lineage. My great grandmother was the second ordained female evangelical minister in Canada. So I come from a long line of wonderful women, but the more I see others thrive, it's very unique and different for everyone, which is kind of the beauty of it. And so I'll do those practices. I'll go to the bathroom. I have my red light here in my office. So I actually do my legs with red light therapy while I'm working. So if I'm wearing a dress or shorts, but I'll get sort of the back of my legs. I have my red light therapy on a little plant stand. So I can get my thighs, my legs while I'm facing my mirror, and then I'll kind of switch it around while I'm putting my moisturizer, washing my face, moisturizer, sunscreen, doing my makeup, doing my hair, and then kind of go through the day, typically intermittent fast until about noon. And I do really well with proteins at 1 or 2 p.m., like avocado, eggs. For some reason, high fats makes me feel really good. Bulletproof coffee, filtered water throughout the day, and then I'll have a really nice supper. So I'm fortunate to have farms around me, I grow a lot of my food with my husband, all of our lettuces, herbs, tomatoes, peas, grapes, fruit, all sorts of things. Chickens are next. And then in the evening, it's kind of that again, right? Red light therapy, do my skincare routine, some type of just like, I have Himalayan salt lamps like plugged in. So you get that nice glow in the evening. So you're reducing your junk light. Yeah. And then I
think this is great. I love your routine. I have a little bit different of a routine, but I love your routine on how you get up and you take it from one point to the next point to the next point. I think that's great. We're almost done. We're almost out of time here today for our live Facebook. So how can individuals contact you?
Well, it's so great for me to connect with providers like yourself, that you are very forward thinking in the fact that you're combining your nutrition, your functional medicine with the aesthetics. Now, that's kind of the dream, to be able to show up to one clinic and have all of that.
All of it.
That's where things are going. And if you're working with a provider that hasn't really clued into that, and they're like, let's just do your Botox, let's just do your filler, they're kind of missing the mark on the really important aspects of everything else at home, in clinic test kits that are available. So I'm really proud of providers like you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's a great combination, and I'm very excited to start this venture.
Yeah.
So, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, definitely. And
anything else that you want to say to our audience today?
Absolutely. If anyone has any questions that's listening and my message is kind of resonating with you, I want to hear from you. Send me an email. You can reach me directly, info@RachelVarga.ca. You can listen. I have a podcast, Rachel Varga Podcast, Body, Mind, Spirit, Energy. I interview the likes of Dave Asprey, JJ Virgin, forward-thinking individuals like yourself. And just book your consult with me at RachelVarga.ca. And for all of you listening, you can get 15% off of your call if you use the promo code Dr. Dan 15. So Dr. Dan.
That's great. I'll make sure that's on there when we put the notes. That is fabulous. Rachel, thank you very much for coming on. I think I can speak another hour with you, and we'll do that at another time. For all of our listeners, I recommend Rachel, please give her a call, get that consultation. Thank you very much for being on. And take care, everybody. We'll talk soon. Take care.